What's happening, Hardscapers? This is episode 278 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. And on today's episode, we have another I Am a Hardscaper Mashup episode. This is a year in review for I Am a Hardscaper episodes on the How to Hardscape podcast. In these I Am a Hardscaper episodes, I sit down one-on-one with a hardscape business owner and do a deep dive into their business. And on last week's I Am a Hardscaper Mashup, we did an employee-based episode where we talked about employees, attracting employees, bonus structures for employees. On today's episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. With the two guests that we didn't feature from this year on last week's episode, we're going to feature them here, and they're not really related topics to one another. The first guest that we have on is Ty and Cody from Anchorscape, and they talk about their sales process and then into their build process. So how they kind of marry those two together and what that whole entire process looks like for their clients, from sales to the project management process. And then we have Landscaping with Dylan on the show to talk about his Instagram growth strategies, social media growth strategy in general here. So two really great topics, not too related, but definitely two great guests that we needed to feature here on this end of year episode. But before we get into today's episode, we want to thank our sponsors, Cycle CPA. And if you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. Knowledge Tree Consulting, if you are looking for somebody to help you in your business, I would highly recommend Knowledge Tree Consulting. They are efficiency consultants in our industry, and you've heard them on the podcast multiple times before. George and Peter of Oriole Landscaping, and George a couple of other times talking about various topics, and we'll definitely have George on in the future to talk more. But you can learn more about them at knowledgetreeconsulting.com. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode. This is Ty and Cody from Anchorscape talking about how they go from the sales cycle with a client into the build process and how they manage this. Okay, so this is a unique scenario that I rarely have on the show, where I've got two people from the business at different stages of the sales cycle into the build cycle. So I want to go through that with you guys, and please be as willing or not to be as detailed as possible here. As soon as I want to go from like a lead comes in, where does that go to become a design client, to becoming signed on to design, or sorry, to become signed on as a build client, and then how that goes to the completion. So like Ty, somebody reaches out and contacts you, whether that's through the website, phone call, text, whatever. Where does that go from there? Included the initial consultation and whatnot, but where does that go from there?
Yeah, so everybody that want to work with us, when they come in, whether they come in through text message, messaging, Facebook, or phone call, we always tell them to go to our website and fill out the form from our website. And then at the end of the form, after they done filling out the form, they will get a chance to schedule a consultation call with us, and that has to be something that had to go through as well. So doing the consultation call as of right now, I'm doing it. When the principal designer come in, she's going to be doing it. The consultation call, which is pretty much trying to sell them the design, telling them that we only do a build for you if you move forward with the design. We don't work with anybody else's design. It has to be our design. When they buy the design, we then schedule them, have the office schedule them for the next availability to go do on-site measurement, site survey, we call it. So the team, project managers, designers will go to meet with them, do the site survey, talk with them more about their budgets and everything, more details, and their wish list and everything. And then doing all the measurement, come back. They will then send us the inspirational pictures that they have. Then the designer will meet with principal designer, just start brainstorming the idea of how the design should be based on the budget and their style. Designer will then start drafting, and then principal designer review it and start presenting, send it to Project manager will bid it, then owner, I will review it. If that bid is good, give it back to design principal designer. Principal designer will send the draft out to the client, schedule a call, and repeat the process until everything done.
And then, so Cody, you estimate it, and then when do you get it? What happens when you get that estimate back and it's got to go ahead with that?
Yeah, so then we tried to keep it as clean as possible for the client as well, that they realize once they sign the proposal, it kind of the Zoom call switch. So no longer is the principal designer on the phone with them. It's me from that point on. So then, yeah, I'll be walking them through the materials usually, like all the material selection right then, just so we can start bidding out, figure out what prices are going to change depending on what materials they chose from there. So it's all fine tuning at that point, and we just try and get that proposal, bid, everything just like as tight as possible to what it's actually going to cost for them and for us, materials and all that, and then I'll put together a design, a verification. There we go. So yeah, it's like a verification. It's kind of like all the questions that I have in my head on like, is this going to be a problem or what? Where's that drain pipe going? So I'll write that list out, and then get all the measurements and go with the designer. Or it's been, with Ty quite a few times as well, for now. And then we'll just go remeasure everything because a big thing that we offer that's pretty scary, but it also just makes it so much smoother, such a better experience with the client is no change orders. So we will not initiate any change orders on our side. They can, of course, choose to improve if they want in the middle of the project, but otherwise, the price we give them is the price we're going to stick to. Because we should know if we needed to add a wall or anything. We should be able to foresee that with our design and with our measurements. They're counting on us to know what needs to be done. So we like to just get all that upfront on the table before we break ground or anything, so they can be like, "Wow, that's getting more expensive than I would originally want." Before we even start digging, let's just reevaluate. So we don't want that to have them kind of handcuffed. Their yard is fully excavated, and now they need to spend extra money, and they weren't planning on it. So, but their yard is fully torn up. So we try to avoid that as much as we can. And yeah, we'll get that verification. We'll go spray paint out our design and kind of show the client if we're lucky enough for them to be home when we're there during the day, and then walk them through what it's going to look like. It's kind of a fun time for them to see it in spray paint form as well. And then come back, and that's my chance to kind of make any changes to the design, to the price, the bid, whatever we found. And then I call the client now with the material price and all the other potential things we missed during the design, and give them the absolute final price, and then they say, yeah, let's go, or let's why did that change. So yeah, and there's a little bit of sales in there, but it's more so like we'll get excited about something. It's kind of like an upsell phase, where we're like, you could do these lights or you could do these lights, and these are so much cooler. So there's a little bit of an upsell in that phase as well. But more so, it's just like excited. We're just bringing up stuff as because we're excited about it. It's not like, oh yeah, we gotta get them to do turf or something. It's like, yeah. So, and then yeah, so from there, then it just goes to scheduling, ordering the materials, making sure those all come in at the right time, picking what team is going to go to that project, what timeline they're going to start, and calling in permits if we need to, and yeah, kind of all those details from there that just help once the project starts. We like to stay there the whole time, no stopping till it's done, pretty much. So we try to get everything there, everything ready to go, the full project package, the plan from start to back. And with our projects are getting more complicated now too, so we'll have like 4 or 5 different trades working on one project. A metal fabricator, the carpenter, the hardscaper, the demo team, and yeah, then the electrician, the plumber. So kind of making sure all those people are aligned and know what the other person's doing. And yeah, then just maintaining communication with the homeowner throughout the whole process, letting them know when one team's leaving, which team's coming next, and making sure everything's going smooth. Where we're going to stage stuff with the tight properties. It's a pretty, it's a big trick. It's kind of annoying. You can't order all the materials at once, or you can't have them all delivered. You got to order them, have them staged somewhere, and then bring them in at the right speed, uh, so that the project doesn't get over flooded.
Right. Do you
Um,
do you have a specific way that you keep track of where the progress is with the project and communicate to the client whenever something needs to be communicated?
I'd say like, well, we don't have something with the client as far as like a loading bar, but we've always talked about that. It would be kind of fun. But the key thing that we do, because we're pretty far from our projects too. Like our office is like an hour and a half or so, hour and a half from our projects. So we really try to not leave the office too much to go drive because we lose like half a day just going to check on the project. So big thing that we do is the whatever team is there at the end of the day, they like Facebook film like live their day. So they just talk about what they did that day, any questions that they have, and just kind of the little details of what they did. So then that's when I can chime in and be like, "Whoa, this isn't right," before it gets too late, or it's looking great, and then I'm like, "Okay, so it looks like you need the sod soon," and they'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, I do, cool," So then, and then that's where I'll tell the homeowner too. If the homeowner has any questions, I'm pretty up to date. I know where we were the end of the day before, so I know pretty much what's going on.
I like that idea. And then like final walkthrough, will you go out there or will you have like your foreman take care of that?
The final walkthrough is yeah, I go out there for that. So
Okay.
um, we try and kind of have a preliminary one with the foreman. You're like, hey, can you walk through with the client before you leave? Just get that first like quick thing, and then we usually wait a little bit of time for the dust to kind of settle, and then I'll call them and come back out, do the final, relaxed walkthrough with them when they've had some time to kind of spot stuff and everything's cleaned up. There's all that, stuff is cleaned out, and that's when we collect our final payment after that day. And then also we make sure there's no little details that need to come back. And if there is, yeah, we write them down. And usually that's like a weekend thing. Some of our foremans are more than happy to work on the weekend, so they'll gladly go do that if there is like little details.
Okay, so I've got a list of questions here that I've been kind of taking notes, and we'll kind of hit on them as much as you guys want to. And I'll try to aim it at who I think is best suited for it. But if I'm wrong, feel free to interrupt me here. Ty, when it comes to initial consultations, do you charge for them? Yes or no, or why not?
We don't have consultation. We used to go before. We used to go meet people in person
Yep.
and try to sell the design over there. That's when we charge consultation, $250. We don't meet with them anymore. They pretty much have to buy a design before we meet them, so we don't charge.
And then do you find that those design packages that the major like do you have a percentage of how many people actually carry through that design to the build phase, or do you find it's like your closing rate's really high to the point that you don't really need to measure that?
So the actual closing rate after the design, I would say 75 to 80%, but the conversion rate from lead to design, when they first come in to getting the design, that one will be 10 to 15%.
And that's just kind of your own way of pre-qualifying a client to make sure that they're serious about what they want done.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of it has to do with us. The reason it's very low just have to do with us being super custom, have a lot of like vetting from the start. You have to go through the website, you have to have schedule Zoom call, you have to buy a design, you have to not just have only asking us to install a pivot patio or a fence or anything. It has to be a full package for us to be interested in doing because we're a small company. We don't really have time to just do everything like that. So just a lot of that vetting of a barrier in the front that's kind of take a lot of people out from the initial process. So when people come in, 100 people, 90 of that already go away, but the 10 that leave, the solid ones. That's why our conversion rate from the design to build are very high.
Cody, when you're doing a quote, how do you format that quote? Do you have a specific way? For example, do you organize it by work areas, or is it a lump sum? How do you go about organizing that quote?
Yeah, I try and just like word it as much as I can for it to make sense for the client, but also be like pretty detailed in like the demo aspect is going to cost this much. Us getting like mobilizing the crew and everything, that's like going to cost this much. And then going into each individual feature after that. So it's really like the cost of getting the crews there, the cost of demoing, pretty much getting their yard to a clean canvas, and then each feature from there. I'll break it down, yeah, feature by feature, and just try and keep it as clean as possible. So if they do say, oh, I don't want this patio, we can just do grass. Sometimes that's still like there's quite a big like swing in that or what that could create because the excavation's totally different, all that stuff. So I try and just look at it like let's get the clean slate. Now they know, okay, from here, if I choose pavers or if I choose turf, it's all like much more um, transparent, I suppose. The different prices when they make those changes, because the excavation we still got to do, but the material just changed. So yeah, and as far as for us figuring out how much is going to cost is we just go by materials and time. So yeah, the cost per hour and then the cost of the materials, and that's how we look at it. So we don't really do like a square footage breakdown or anything like that. It's just sheer, you know, time it takes because some of our inlays are much more complicated than other ones, and the square footage just gets it's I think we're too custom to do it by square footage. So um we really just try and remember back to my days, when I was in the field, like, okay, how long is it going to take to do that little miter in that corner, and just go through all those little details and where are we going to get the rocks from, the specialty rock. Oh, we got to drive 45 minutes to go get that for the little, specialty rock in the water feature. Just trying to remember to account for all those little things, and put it in the right spot in the bid. So the client, if they choose to pull something out, it doesn't like, it's not crazy. They see it. It's, because sometimes if you take out, say, a small retaining wall, it changes everything. And now they don't know why it changed everything. And the price change is crazy. And nobody likes that. So just
Yeah.
keep it as transparent as possible. And especially since now I'm not the one talking to them during the Zoom call when they're going through the prices, because I got to try and save that, when the designer is not quite sure why the price just changed so much. They're like, I just changed it so it looks like more like you want, and then I tell them, oh, that's a huge difference, so just trying to avoid all that.
With those product choices, are you trying to nail as much of that through like a Zoom call nowadays as much as possible, or will you also have them go to your vendor to actually see them in person, or will you even show up at their house to actually show them the different samples?
So it's 95% via Zoom. We create like an Excel spreadsheet and then just click through the products with them. So they, screen share and they can see the company's photos of the products that we're going to install. And that really seems like plenty good for most people. The people who really, really want to see the materials, that's like the remaining 5%. For them, we do just ask them to go to a showroom, a local like SiteOne or something near us. But we're just driving out to their house, we just can't do it. Like I said, the projects are over an hour away. It just like really, really takes out a lot of the day to go do that. So
I'm sure like just through your guys' sales process where your clients are really like self-selecting, and by the time they're done the design, they really want you guys, they want your opinion, they want your thought process on product selection and all that. So it seems like they must trust you guys more than anything if they've gone through that entire process with you anyways. We want to take a break from today's episode to thank our sponsor, Cycle CPA. It's crucial to review your financial statements on a monthly basis so you can diagnose areas for improving your business's financial health early before they become significant issues. Too many contractors wait until the end of the year to review their financials as they file taxes, when it's often too late to take action to change the outcome. Cycle CPA not only handles bookkeeping and taxes, but they also ensure that you're armed with financial data on a monthly basis to make key business decisions. They offer benchmarking, cash flow forecasting, and assistance in developing targets for financial metrics. With their team of accountants specialized in the hardscape and landscape industry, they currently work with hundreds of companies in this field. Visit cyclecpa.com, and for $200 off, mention the How to Hardscape podcast. Now back to our episode. This is Dylan from Landscaping with Dylan talking about his social media strategy and how he's grown his, especially Instagram account here. And okay, so Instagram, I'm going to be a little bit selfish here, but I think this could also help our audience as well. Because this coming year, 2024, I want to focus more so on Instagram, kind of get that ball rolling. So I've got somebody here who's done some amazing creative short form content on Instagram. Dylan, where would you recommend somebody start if they want to go down that Instagram route of growing their following? And what effects have you seen? We kind of touched on that with leads in your business, but what kind of effects have you seen from growing your following? Was the effort that you put into worth it for your business? Was it worth it for personal? Just all around, but I guess we'll start with that starting point. Where would you point somebody to, or how would you kind of nudge them to start growing their following in terms of short form content and getting that ball rolling?
Yeah, absolutely. But to kind of answer your question, like it's been beneficial for the business. It's been beneficial on the personal side. Instagram has literally changed my life. And, I believe like if someone leans into it and, takes the time to kind of learn the basic principles of, what makes engaging content, it can pay off dividends. There's a lot of different ways you can go about growing the account, whether, you're being more, educational based, more humor based. There's a lot of different ways to do it. There's not one right or wrong formula, but I do believe that there are some basic principles that apply to everybody, no matter what route you take. And so if you're going to start kind of going down that road of trying to build your brand and build up your, account, the first step is you just got to start posting. You have to get in the routine of being consistent. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to post every single day, but you do want to post at least a couple times a week, and just get over the fact that you're going to suck at first. You're going to suck. But the good thing is like when you're first starting out, you don't have that many followers. So it's okay to suck. But as you start being more consistent and you start to learn those skills, you're going to start to get better. And it gets easier. And it's kind of like going to the gym where it's extremely hard to go that first time. It's really hard to go that first week, that first month. But after you start going and going and going, you don't even think about it anymore. It's just kind of like it's just something I do. Mm-hmm. And, you can make it fit within whatever schedule you can, if you want to spend 10 hours a day on it, you can absolutely spend 10 hours a day on it. But you could also spend 15 minutes of just concentrated effort and be successful that way too. Obviously, you're going to have to be a lot more focused if you're only going to spend that little bit of time on it. But it's all about consistency. That's the biggest thing. And then the next biggest thing is, be a student. Follow people who are doing well. Kind of like notice what they're doing. Don't mindlessly scroll. If you see you see a video that you thought was like, wow, that was cool. Think like, all right, well, how do I put my spin on that? How do I recreate that? Just follow some Instagram experts. Some of them are a little corny, get past the corniness and just get to what their message is, and just take it in from everywhere. And don't be afraid to try new things. That's the big thing. I was listening to this podcast with Gary Vaynerchuk the other day, And he was saying like the number one reason why people aren't like pushing social media as hard as they are is all because of fear, like what people are going to think of them. And I'm like, wow, that's really true. You know, it's just get beside yourself and just put yourself out there, you know?
Definitely.
And my biggest thing was like, I was definitely afraid of going on the camera. Like, even to this day, I don't like putting myself on camera. You know, I'm pretty self-conscious. So how I kind of got over that is like, I don't use a selfie camera on my phone. I always have the phone turned away from me.
Okay.
You know, so I got the iPhone, I put it on the wide angle so it makes it look like I'm further away from me. You know, I've done thousands and thousands of stories and I've never once watched myself on screen when I talked on the phone.
Gotcha.
Which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. Speaking of iPhone, what gear are you usually using for stories, for reels, whatever you're kind of creating?
My rule is, you know, it's got to be as easy as possible from capturing content to posting. So most of my content, all of my content, it's either shot on my phone, or if I have a drone shot, obviously that's done with the drones. And I'll occasionally set up the time lapse. I haven't been too big on time lapses lately, but mostly it's just the iPhone. And then 100% of my editing is done on the iPhone too. Like, I know that I could produce some better content if I did do it on a computer, but that's just adding more steps. And like I said, it's all about consistency. And you know, you want to put out good content, but quantity is almost more important than quality. You know, I would rather put out 30 okay or good enough videos than 5 amazing award-winning videos.
Gotcha.
You know,
interesting. Gotcha.
So all iPhone.
Got it. And then have you noticed any trends or not so much trends, but things that you know are going to do well? Like, for example, with my at least YouTube channel, I know what video is going to do well and what videos are not going to do well, especially with whatever audience I've garnered at this point in time with that. Is it the same with Instagram? Have you found reels that, you know what, I know if I post this reel, it's going to do well, and then another reel which may not do well but serves a purpose for maybe your business or for the direction that you want to go with your Instagram? Do you find any of those trends with your content?
Oh, I mean, yeah, absolutely. There are definitely things where I'm like, yeah, this reel isn't going to do well, like, but I'm going to post it anyway because I like it, you know? So definitely, like, if you're trying to make a reel like go viral or you want it to do really well, try and keep it underneath 10 seconds. Like, we've got short attention spans, and you know, you might have the most epic, you know, minute and a half long reel that like follows a song perfectly, but just people don't have the attention span for it. And then also part of the algorithm too is like it watches like the percentage of the watch time. So if you have like a 1 minute video and they only watch 30 seconds of it, you know, the algorithm saying like, oh, they watch half the video. Whereas if it's like a 7-second reel and they watch all of it, they see like, oh, wow, people are watching 100% of this video. So definitely, like, the shorter the reel, the better. And then also too, you have to have a hook. Like, you have to get their attention right away. Within the first 2 seconds, you have to like give them a reason to keep watching. You know, if there's like a song with like a really slow build up, but there's an epic drop, like, it might be cool for the person that's really into it, but it's not going to catch that average scroller, because you got like, you know, there's the cadence of your scrolling. It's like scroll, 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 you know? So
yeah,
shorter is definitely better.
What hooks of your own have you found very useful? Have you found any hooks that you may go back to when you're creating a reel or anything like that?
Like putting some text on screen first and like saying something like epic build, or, you know, kind of like explaining what the video is going to be about, really helps out. Also, there's this, you know, the big trend of, you know, people are a lot more likely to talk down on you versus build you up. So if you are to like post something that's like, you know, we have a problem, you know, that's the big one going around right now. You know, there's a big problem on the job site, you know, and like the reason why people are saying that is because, you know, it works. Like, people like to see problems, you know, people like to, you know, see you fail.
Yeah. Yes.
So, if you kind of like, I don't know how to exactly where I'm going with it, but just, yeah.
I agree. It's the same on any kind of video based platform. Is like one of my better videos is I lost $20,000 on this project because people like to see that I've lost money on a project that I did. Very similar kind of thing, especially with short form there. But would it have been worthwhile for you if you didn't have this creativity? Looking back at it and how long it took you from when you started Instagram to now to at the very beginning have hired somebody to do it, and would that have paid off? Say you had to pay them 50 grand a year. Would that have been a worthwhile investment for, I think you said about 3 years in business, so about 150 grand? Would the leads have paid off that, the business, as well as anything else that your Instagram has done for you?
If I were to hire someone for 50 grand and they were able to produce the results that I have done, I would say 100% absolutely worth it. One without a doubt. Do I think someone could have done it exactly the way I have? Absolutely not, because I have built kind of the brand around me, and I'm not just showing pretty pictures of projects. I'm showing my face. I'm talking, and there's no way I could, someone couldn't replicate that.
Right.
They could be successful doing it a different way, but not the exact same way that I have done it, if that makes sense.
So sort of going off of that, what if you hired somebody to literally just follow you? I know you're familiar with Gary Vee, just follow you around with a camera. Is that something that you would think about doing in the future? Would, if you weren't as creative as you are, done that from the very beginning to still keep that sort of personable, your face is on the screen? Or is there something about doing that selfie kind of shot and that intimacy that you build with your audience because of that selfie shot, as opposed to, what is it, the third person shot, I think, where somebody's filming you?
I think you could still experience results with having someone follow you. And, if I do become big enough, maybe I might, consider having a content person one day. Mm-hmm. But I do think it is a little bit more impactful when you are, actually filming it yourself. People can see, like, they can tell when you have like a selfie camera versus when somebody's watching you, right?
Yeah.
And there's like this extra level of authenticity that you get from it. What I would probably recommend, like if somebody's trying to like lean into it, like into Instagram, I would probably go about it I would have 2 different accounts. I would have one that is for the business, that is just 100% business related, shows pictures, all projects, and then also have a separate one that is more personal brand. And I would consider like the Landscaping with Dylan account, that's more of like a personal brand. So that's the way I would consider doing it.
I love that idea. Have the sort of portfolio that you can send people to, and then your own personal thing on the side. I really love that idea.
Heiner does that, and I really like that.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go this route. Instagram. Is there any other platform that you'll go to next? Will you double down on Instagram? Is there any other platform like short form TikTok that you would take your Instagram and repost to TikTok? Do you do that already? I hate TikTok, so I don't even go on TikTok. But what's your thoughts on that in terms of next platform or reposting your Instagram on another platform?
I'm right there with you. Like, yeah. I hate TikTok. It kind of fits with that, like, that stereotypical like vision I had of what social media was, which is like people dancing and just stupid, pointless. However, I do think it's starting to mature a little bit, and more people are starting to get over there. And I did try and build up an account there, I don't know, about a year ago, and I gave up after like a month because I'm like, this is stupid. But I'm kind of like, seeing the signs, and I think that TikTok's, it's probably going to be around for a while. So I'm starting to seriously consider going back over there and giving it another shot. So I'm definitely considering TikTok, but also I think it's time I get started on YouTube. I've been kind of like nervous about it because it's long form and I've already so like spread thin already.
Yeah.
But I think that if I invest the time over there, it will pay off eventually. But YouTube, I think, is like at least a 1 to 2 year investment before you start really seeing that ROI.
Right. And then would you just repost your reels from Instagram to TikTok as well as from Instagram to YouTube, whatever they're called, stories or whatever
Shorts,
they are?
I think.
Shorts, yes. Would you just repost or would you try to create something different? What's your thoughts on that?
I think that like from like the little bit of experience that I did have over on TikTok, it's kind of different content.
Yeah.
In a way, it's kind of it's a little bit different. And if you repost the same exact thing on another platform, it doesn't really hit the same way.
Mm.
So if I really like, all right, I'm going to take this serious, I'm going to try and grow it, I'm more than likely not going to repurpose the content. I'll tailor it to whatever platform I'm going to. I'll still probably use like the same media, but it'll be edited differently
Right.
to fit the platform, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so stories versus reels on Instagram. What's your thought process on this is a reel that I'm going to post, or you know what, I'm just going to do stories for this? Do you have like a divide as to what is a story, what's a reel, or what maybe kind of bridges the two?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So I guess now we're kind of shifting over to like kind of more the technical side of stuff. So if I could actually take us in a different direction first,
Absolutely,
is like before you really start posting, you have to determine like what is your account? Is it like that professional brand where it's just 100% professional, or is it, you know, the brand of, you know, Mike, or is it the brand of Dylan? Is it your personal brand? And you want to determine that, because whatever route you go, you want to be consistent in that. If you are going the professional route, and that's all you post, you don't want to mess it up by one week, just completely changing it up and like, oh, I'm on vacation over here, just because like it doesn't fit with the theme. So first you want to determine what's your account going to be? And then next, you want to optimize your bio. Like your bio is huge. Your bio needs to tell people like, why are you, like, who are you? What do you do? And like, why should they follow you? You know, it's your, you know, elevator pitch. You know, you're trying to get people to follow you. You are not trying to sell them. You know, I think that putting your phone number, putting your license number, all of that stuff, you're just wasting opportunity. I think it's stupid to do that stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not trying to sell them. Like if someone's scrolling through and then they just look at your account, that phone number has zero value. They're not going to like, oh yeah, all right. You know, and plus, I mean, they're not stupid. Like there's a call button like right below it. You know, they can find your number, you know.
Definitely.
So get your bio right. And if you are trying to get local business, you have to have your location in your bio. If you do, it is one of my biggest pet peeves where I just see like an amazing work, amazing content, but I have no idea where you work. Like, sure, I kind of like, I'm interested. So like, I'll kind of look at a few posts, like see if location's tagged, or I'll look at the website. But the average person, they don't care. You know, people don't care about landscaping the way landscapers do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for example, I don't care about window washers, but if I stumble on your account and I see that you're in my city, I might just hit follow just because you're in my city, just because maybe eventually I'll need one. So
Right.
Someone's scrolling like maybe I might need a landscaper. He's local. What the hell? I'll follow. So I think you're stupid if you don't have your location in your bio. That's
Definitely.
And then you have to have a good profile picture. You know, it's either got to be your logo or it's got to be your face. And it can't be like a far off shot where there's like 5 people in the photo. It's got to be like clear. It's got to be your face or it's got to be your logo. And you just got to roll with it. you can't switch it up. If you're switching it up every month or so, people are gonna they don't know who you are. Like I almost unfollowed someone that I'm good friends with. I've been talking for a few years because I didn't realize I don't know who this person is. And then right before I hit unfollow, I'm like, oh wait, no, he just switched his logo. But anyway, so next.
I just want to pause there because I just want to go through what your example is. Landscaping _with _Dylan. And then yours is I build cool yards for cool people, which you've already said is obviously a phrase of yours on this podcast. This landscaper you know, like, and trust. And then with a pin, and then Placer County, California. So, and then that pin I think is really helpful, right? Because if there was no emoji there of the pin and just seeing Placer County, that pin tells you, oh, it's a location. This is where they're located, right away.
Yep, it kind of helps bring attention to it. And then also too, if you have too much stuff in your bio, I don't know if they switched it, but it used to be to where you'd have to hit the more little button, and then you could see the last line. You want to make sure that that location is visible without hitting that more button. Yeah, because it is really it is so critical to have your location in your bio. It's really important.
Now I'm going to mine and seeing what. No, just So Dylan, before I cut you off there, just to go through what your bio is, what were you going to say to continue on here?
Oh, then I was just going to shift over to what your original question was.
Okay,
what do I determine? What's a story? What's a reel? What's a post? What goes where? So. Reels are how you get new exposure to your account. The only reason why I have so many followers, it's 100% from Reels. People say they love my stories. I'm a lot more personal there, but the account 100% was built off of Reels. That's what Instagram pushes out to people. That's what they recommend to people. So Reels are the type of content that's where you get new followers, right? And whenever I post a reel, I'm always making sure I tag location and hashtags. They're not as big as they used to be. Instagram is moving more towards an SEO sort of model, to where the captions have more input now, and the hashtags aren't as relevant, but they still are relevant. So on every single reel that I post, I always have hashtag Sacramento, hashtag all of my cities, the 5 areas where I really work in. I always make sure to include that just to increase the chances of local people seeing my content, especially when I was first grinding and really trying to get business. Because it's nice to have a lot of followers, but if a follower is in Florida and I only work in Sacramento, that doesn't really help me out very much. So I want local followers. One local follower is worth 1,000 in another country, or someone that you can't have no possibility of helping out with. So Reels is where that's your advertising. That's where you get new followers. Now stories, that is where you build the relationship. That is where you turn followers into raving fans. That's where you go more personal, and you can talk about literally anything you want. You really, you're just trying to build that relationship. I heard this phrase, people want to do business with people that they know, they like, and they trust, and, Reels, that's where they get to know you, and stories, that's where they start to like and trust you. And if you can be consistent and really try and story every day and put your face on camera every day, it is like a cheat code, because people, they see your face every day, if it's for 15 seconds, a minute, however much you story, and it just keeps you on top of mind. So when they're ready for landscaping, they'll think oh, Dylan, because you're seeing me every day. I'm always top of mind. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, the most amazing stuff ever. It can be stories can literally be anything. That's where you can be a little bit more off brand. You don't have to stay 100% posting, landscaping content. That's where you kind of be oh yeah, this new store opened up down the street. That's where you can kind of go a little bit more off topic, and it's acceptable.
Gotcha.
You don't want to get too far off topic. You still want to keep at least, 80% of it on point, but stories is absolutely critical to build that trust.
Gotcha. And okay, so stories, reels. Is there anything else that we haven't really covered that you would definitely want our audience to know more about with Instagram?
Yeah. So I want to give you like my secret, like the what I did to start getting business. So like I said earlier, when I first started Instagram, I tried doing ads. I tried posting, just pretty pictures, and nothing was converting. Like absolutely, I got no business whatsoever from it. And then once I started learning kind of like the basic principles of like what makes good content, then I was like, how do I get the local followers? So going back to Gary Vaynerchuk, he turned me on to this idea where there's the explore page, where that little magnifying glass on the bottom, you type in whatever city you work in. So like, for example, I'm in Sacramento. I would go to Sacramento and I would, type in Sacramento, and I would go to the recents tab. So where it'll show all the posts that have been posted in chronological order. And I would like every single post that was posted within the last hour. And if I could leave some sort of comment, like some sort of genuine comment, I would comment. And I did that every day for, I don't know, I think like 3 months solid of at least an hour a day, where, I mean, don't tell anyone, but like I would just be driving down the road and I would just be scrolling, I would just do scroll, tap, tap, scroll, tap, tap. I wouldn't be looking at my phone. I was just trying to get like everybody that was local. And then kind of like the psychology there is, the average person on Instagram, they have 100, 500 followers. When they post something, they're getting 5, 10 likes. If they post, like, they're getting like 30 likes, like, oh my gosh. So if some random person likes their content, they're going to say like, oh, who is this? And they're going to look at your profile. If you can leave a comment, like something genuine, it can't just be like a smiley face or something, but literally anything, you can say anything. You're just trying to get people's attention, just to get them to say like, who is this person, and get them to look at your account. And I look at that like passing out flyers. I can put 60 flyers on a house. I can do 60 flyers in an hour. I can do like 300, I call it Insta grinding. I can do like 300 in an hour, and it was like after a week of doing that, that's when I started to actually get leads. And then 3 months later, that's when I left the business, because I was getting so much business where I couldn't handle. Like, that's where I was like, all right, I can do this if I go on my own.
That's awesome. That's huge, especially for a possible downturn in the economy going into 2024. And maybe you don't want to go door to door because you don't want that interaction, or you don't want to,
door sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Like spend time. You either have to spend time or money, right? And then at least you can do that in the comfort of your own home. And like you said, it's just like passing out flyers at that point.
Oh no, absolutely. And I call it Insta grinding.
That's great.
Yeah, and I know for a fact it works. I've shared it. Like, I haven't really like shared that like publicly, but I've shared it with like a few people, and some people like, oh, it doesn't really work. I'm like, you really didn't do it, did you? Like, yeah, I did it. Like, I did it like 3 days, but I've got some buddies that have like, my buddy at M&H Landco. I've coached him up a lot, and he actually passed me in followers recently. He's like, dude, Insta grinding, it 100% works, So if I were, trying to build my account, if I was like trying to actively get business, either I would find someone that I trust. I'd pay someone $20 an hour. All right, you're just commenting on posts all day today. That's all you're doing. Just local posts. You're just engaging. You're just trying to get attention, build those relationships. That is, if I had to start over, I would be Insta grinding nonstop until I didn't have to anymore.
Definitely. That's a great little nugget there. Before we leave the topic of social media, Instagram, anything else that you want to cover there?
There's so much. Like, I could talk for hours and hours about it. Right.
Yeah.
But there's that point where just, you can't, people can only absorb so much. Like the biggest things, it's get your bio right. try and get over your fear of going on camera. Like, it's possible to grow the account and build that trust without going on camera. But if you can, it's an absolute cheat code. We're humans.
Yeah.
We like to have, human interactions. So put your face on camera. And then if you don't have business, like you need work, just start Instagramming, like, go in the trenches, so to speak. Just start engaging with local people.
Yes.
It's easy.
Definitely.
Just takes time.
We want to take a break from today's episode to thank our sponsor, Knowledge Tree Consulting. They are efficiency consultants in the industry with 35 plus years of industry experience building Oriole landscaping in Toronto, which they are completely hands off at this point. George and Peter have been on the podcast before, and George, on multiple occasions now, I've personally leaned on him to help with the How to Hardscape headquarters software and how we can maximize the efficiency of user experience. And I know the guys at DTE Landscaping, Chuck and Jeffrey, who we've also had on the show multiple times, have hired them on in the past. Check out their consulting services, peer groups, and events that are coming up on their website, knowledgetreeconsulting.com, or check them out on Instagram at joinktc. Now back to our episode. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. Go check out Anchorscape at Anchorscape on Instagram, ANGKOR Scape on Instagram, to check out their beautiful work there and learn more about Ty and Cody and what they've got going on. And then while you're still on Instagram, check out Landscaping with Dylan. That's just landscaping_with_Dylan on Instagram, and see his beautiful account and the creativity he puts into his reels there. And also, if you are on your phone right now checking them out, you can always give us a rating, review, Spotify, Apple, however you want to do it there. Send me a message at How to Hardscape of future guests that you want to see on the show or hear on the show, or any topics in general that you'd want to learn more about on the show. And we want to say thank you to our sponsors, Cycle CPA. If you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. And Knowledge Tree Consulting, if you're looking for efficiency consultants who have a lot of experience in our industry, check out Knowledge Tree Consulting at knowledgetreeconsulting.com. And we look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.